Hi everybody, I'm Kevin Long. Welcome to Innovation in Motion. Today we're going to be tackling the topic, the future of mobile. Very exciting. I got some awesome panelists here tonight who are going to wine and dine you the rest of the evening. As we jump in here, just a couple housekeeping things. If you're tweeting out, use the hashtag InPDX. If you can never make an Innovation in Motion, which I don't understand why that would happen, you can always watch it from home, live stream, livestream.com/Innovation in Motion. If you ever need video, please do call Paul Collette. Paul's over there, great guy, he's been helping us out for years and years with Innovation in Motion. And just a quick intro of the panelists, and then I want to call up some of the sponsors that made this evening happen before we get started. So let's just run through here. We have Elizabeth. Elizabeth, you want to raise your hand?
Well, isn't it obvious?
Elizabeth is in the middle. You never know. You never know.
It's true.
All right, let's do a sound check here. Elizabeth, are you hiding that mic away?
Can you well, my head's not as big as this thing. So, can you guys hear me?
Okay, good. So
Yeah.
Elizabeth is the VP of Product Marketing at Urban Airship. Elizabeth is going to be our Product Marketing Specialist of the evening. Next to me is Benjamin Diggles. Benjamin. He also, I heard, goes by Diggles, so I want to call him Diggles the rest of the evening because that's an awesome last name. Benjamin is the VP of Marketing at Cozy, which is a new company you're going to hear about this evening as well. And Tyler? Tyler's on the end. Tyler's the founder of OntheGo platforms and doing a ton of other stuff around the area of wearable technologies. So before we jump in, I definitely want to have the sponsors come up and give them a big thank you. It takes a village to run Innovation in Motion, and this was the first time we actually had a village make this happen. So we had a different sponsor that brought the food, different sponsor that brought the beer, a sponsor that gave us the space, and just want to acknowledge that because everybody enjoys having that. Round of applause for the sponsors. So I'd like to have a couple of sponsors just come up and just let them know name of the company, what they do, and if they have any exciting news. And let's start with our host of the evening, Puppet Labs.
Hey guys. Oh, there we go. So I'm Kara. I'm from Puppet Labs. We had a product launch today, so I think everyone else is out celebrating and drinking. But we're hiring for a lot of positions right now. I think we've got like 35 at least things open on our site. So if you want to talk to me about any of that, come up and talk afterwards. It's a huge pleasure for us to get to host this and have you guys in this space. So thanks for coming out tonight.
WePost Media, Tubeton. Raise your glass if you're holding a beer. That is from Tubeton.
All right, and
Why aren't I
there you
holding
go.
a beer?
This was the key that allowed you to get to your beer, right? There you go. So my name is Tubeton. I'm with WePost Media. We work with clients to help them reach their current and future customers using social media platforms, especially Twitter. And I also organize the Portland Tech Meetup with Tyler and Chris Sells. And we are going to be having a righteous party on St. Patrick's Day. So please check out pdxtech.co, sign up for the meetup if you don't belong already, and we hope to see you on March 17th.
Thanks so much.
And we have a band.
FXFI. All right, this guy called me up out of nowhere, and he's like, I got these 3D screens. I looked at his website. It looks super cool. I said, help out with food here and showcase your work. So maybe if you could just say what's going on with those screens and why people should stop by and say hi to you after.
Sure. So I'm Craig Peterson. I'm the CEO of BEFXI. It's a little 3-year-old startup based out in Hillsboro. Our headquarters is based in a treehouse. Everybody should work in a treehouse, right? But we brought a number of demos, a phone, a couple of tablets, a table monitor, and like a wall monitor. They're all glasses-free 3D. Because we think that today 3D is not so hot when you got to wear these clumsy glasses, and everybody in their home when you're watching TV, you're probably doing stuff with your phone and tablet or computer on your lap or sewing or whatever you're doing. But you're doing more than just watching TV, and those glasses are terrible. We think glasses-free 3D is going to, be a hot market. Because it's natural. You can come over and check out the phone. I think you'll be pretty tickled with the experience that you've got. And our whole expertise is converting all types of content into 3D with no glasses.
Craig, don't spoil it all, man. They got to come see you after the panel. All right, Craig is back there. Everyone, round of applause. Let's make it happen. Special thanks to TAO and Crowd Compass as well for helping out with this evening. And last but not least, Digital Aptitude, who raise your hand if you got to eat food tonight. All right, you can thank Digital Aptitude.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Villalobos, and I'm the Marketing Communications Manager at Digital Aptitude. Digital Aptitude is a local marketing firm that focuses on ROI, and everything we do for our clients is defining a strategy, figuring out their goals, and then doing a variety of tactics to help them reach those goals. So everything is strategy and focus. So please eat more food. We have lots over here, so we'd like it to not have to be taken home with us tonight.
Eat some food, and if you need pay-per-click or digital marketing, talk to Digital Aptitude. Okay, round of applause for the sponsors. Takes a village. Okay, before we dive in, I have one quiz question, and Mark, raise your hand. Mark's going to give $100 to whoever's right. He just found that out. Who was the first, or what was the first phone with iTunes on it? Who can name the first phone with iTunes on it? You are such a nerd, Paul. Paul's right. The first phone in, I think, 2004 was the Motorola Rocker. This is the first time I've been in an audience that someone's answered that correctly within 3 seconds.
Pay him, Mark.
Man. Mark, yeah, that's $100. It was a horrible phone. I think it was more of some sort of battle against bat companies of why that happened. Okay, so enough of me. I'm going to hand it over to the panelists. We're going to do intros of the panelists and then have each panelist do about 8-minute or so presentation. And we're going to open up the rest of the time to Q&A. And again, I'm sort of seeing Tyler, wearable entrepreneur guy on the end, Elizabeth in the middle, taking kind of the the product marketing approach, and then Diggles next to me, taking sort of the big brand and what's happening with the future of mobile. So with that, Tyler, why don't you just talk for a couple minutes about what do you do and your company and your background.
So my background, I started off in technology my junior year of college, and I've never turned back. Early on, I was focused on bridging the gap between communities with technology, so I built Community Technology Group. We tried to foster community through technology. So I've said community technology in enough sentences to get the idea across. I also found a gap in the way that humans interact with computers, and so I founded OntheGo Platforms, which was basically trying to build a platform for making smart glasses apps. Smart glasses are very early, but who doesn't want a platform to make things easier? Do you have other slides? There you go.
Just get to introduce.
That's it.
Oh, that's
you
it?
Get one for the
okay.
intro. You gotta,
that's me.
You got to sparkle.
And I also run Portland Tech Meetup. I also run Startup Poker 2.0, which is a founders, executives, and investors poker tournament that's invite only, because I think the guy who just quit his job should be in the same room with the guy who just sold his third company. So, yeah.
Sounds good.
And we're going to have a band on March 17th for the Portland Tech Meetup for happy hour.
With Tubton.
With Tubton.
All right.
So.
March 17th is going to be a big day. All right.
He's getting the band, so if it sucks,
Look
it's
at
his
this.
fault.
Getting the band together and the startups together. Like to hear it. All right, Tyler, thanks for being here. Elizabeth, you have 2 slides.
I do. Well, I'm not quite that interesting. So
Yes,
that's
you are.
me
You're
in
so
Google-
interesting, I'm going to move your microphone.
That's me in Google Glasses as a joke. Sorry. The story behind that is we have a pair at Urban Airship, and I put them on as I was walking into an engineering meeting and just pretended they were on and did a lot of hand waving and talking, and the engineering floor just like, wow, she really has Google Glasses on? That's so cool. And I was like, no, I don't know how they work. So I am the product marketing, VP of product marketing at Urban Airship. I've been there about 2 years. Prior to that, spent a lot of time in marketing analytics, site optimization, consulting, sales, business development. I've kind of been around the block a lot in Portland technologies. But my second slide is really about Urban Airship. Probably a lot of you know about us, but we power push notifications for the world's largest brands. A bunch of them are up there, but Starbucks, Walgreens, Walmart, ABC News. And so I'm not specifically today going to talk so much about product marketing as a discipline. I'm more going to talk about sort of mobile and how we see mobile evolving and the role that some of the technologies we provide can play in that. So it's a little, I'm not totally going to talk about product marketing, sorry.
That's okay, as long as you have a little twist towards it.
I will.
All right, and Benjamin.
Yes, Benjamin Diggles. Despite the fact that people call me Diggles, I never introduce myself that way, so there's that. And I don't have Google Glass on in here, so I feel like I'm a little out. But yeah, so I head up marketing at Cozy. Some of you may have heard of it. It's a startup here in Portland. Hasn't been around that long, and really the focus of the company is being a full solution end-to-end for landlords that have less than 20 units, 20 properties. So helps landlords manage their properties end-to-end and interface with renters. And while that may seem unprofound, there has never been a company that does it. So I'm loving being the media darling right now. So that's what I do, but my background, actually I worked with Liz, for Liz, at one point. I had a great time there at Web Trends for about 5 years. Towards the end, I ran corporate marketing for the company. And also, for about 1.5 years, I ran our mobile product. So that's why I have a strong point of view with mobile, because we had a chance to work with agencies, and I had a chance to be really involved in the Mobile Marketing Association and interface with a lot of big brands and get visibility into what they were struggling with their campaigns and their mobile data conundrums. So that's me.
Well, I'm super excited about Cozy. I have one rental property, and I absolutely need that service. By the way, what's your blog?
Oh, yeah. So my blog is 100% personal and totally whack attack, but it's mrdiggles.com. I've been blogging for about 8 years. I don't really care who goes to it, but I do it, and it's very bizarre.
If you'd like to see this dude with his shirt off and playing with a bunch of puppies, go to his blog.
That's not the focus, but it is a value add.
That was the first screen I went to. I'm like, well, let me check out this guy. I was like, whoa. But it is an awesome, awesome blog. I told him in advance I was going to make fun of him a little bit, so not too much trouble. Okay, Tyler, we're going to start right away and look at some of this cool, sexy stuff of wearables. And I got a handful of slides in here from you, so why don't you take it away?
Well, for you to call this slide sexy is kind of sad.
Aside from the font, which I think you shaded.
Well, you had me converted to PowerPoint, and I only use Keynote. So
actually, that's fair.
You're on a Mac. Why did you make me convert it?
Crazy. I struggle every time. I'm a Keynote fan. I don't want to get labeled as a PowerPoint guy.
All right.
But I gotta cater to the masses here when I gather up these PowerPoints.
Okay. Well, what you're seeing is a bunch of the glasses that are currently distributed in the market. There's a bunch more on the horizon made by some very large companies, many of which are under NDA, so I couldn't show them or talk about them. But from top left to right, it goes Vuzix, Google Glass, what is that? Recon Jet, Laster, Vuzix M100, what was that? Laster's other version of it, Recon, and what is that, Mateo. So most of these, what they have in common is that they're mostly a single screen. They're in the corner of your eye. They obscure your vision, that you can't really see through them. Even though you can translucently see through Google Glass, it still is kind of just a corner off to the, a screen off to the side. What they do poorly is basically everything except for the basic functions of your phone. So text, calls, emails, stuff like that, it does fine. Where it's really lacking is the user experience. So how would you imagine in Minority Report using your fancy hand gestures, organizing things with head nods and motions? It doesn't do that at all. It's very much touch, left to right, up, down, simple like a Nintendo. So they've got a long way to go, but what you see this is a stepping stone to bringing the phone or its information from your pocket into your vision. Now, on the other slide is the other part of wearables that get less attention but have much more reach, which is basically the fitness wearables, the watches, the cameras. So a bunch of these do a bunch of different things. Think of them as sensors pulling in the information around the world around you, rather than where glasses are presenting the information that's coming from your phone or the devices around you. What's really interesting is that I don't think that these are going to be by themselves. They're not going to be standalone devices. Maybe there'll be a standalone device that does a specific purpose, but what comes really interesting is when they start talking to each other. So perhaps they're not going to replace the phone, but they can augment the phone with very cool sensors that maybe you go out on a run with and present that data into you visually. So when you start thinking about wearables, think of them as a network of devices that build around you rather than individual devices that replace a smartphone. And the next thing that you need to start thinking about is the Internet of Things. So when you start, it's on the next slide. So the Internet of Things is basically taking the sensors on your body, the sensors on a car, the sensors on a wall someplace, and pulling all that information to the internet. So what good is a Fitbit if it's not communicating with a server structure somewhere to figure out where you fit into the world, how well you're running, how fast you're going compared to other people without that intelligence behind it. None of these devices are made to be smart. They're made to take the information, the sensory data around you, and put it somewhere else so that way really, really smart people, smarter than me, I don't know about the rest, but they're pretty smart, but doing some really cool algorithmic stuff to find out what we can do with all these things. What's interesting about this is that when people start thinking of Internet of Things, they start thinking of, well, why would I want that tree over there to be connected to me and the internet? Well, it's not just the tree, it's connected to your mobile. So when you're driving home, Nest can know when you're on the way and then change its behavior. Not just because it's connected to the internet, but because it's connected to you and your phone and the other devices that say where you are. Same thing with iBeacon. iBeacon, if you're not familiar with it, but it's a new service that it's being launched. Mainly the technology's around iOS. But when you're in a physical proximity to one of these things, it can tell you to get a push notification, which we have an expert on push notifications sitting right next to me, so I'm sure she can tell you more about it. Actually, I was asking her questions before this to make sure that I was speaking correctly about a technology that they know more about than I. But in addition to that there's no picture of a car because the car would be very obscure, but the connected car is another one. The connected car, the connected fridge, whatever you think about it, but a device that has sensors that has a lot of information about where you go, what you do, how many hours a day do you spend in your car. Doing something with that information makes things really, really interesting. Basically, the mobile is turning into from something that you connect to the services you care about and the people that are around you, to connecting to the world around you, to connecting to the systems that make the world around you actionable and the information entertaining and interesting. So when you start thinking about this long term, it doesn't end up looking like this. To the next slide. It's not your eyeballs inundated with information. Maybe, so this is interesting because this is the idea of the future being wearing contacts, where you view everything through contacts. So you're looking at a blank wall with no noise, eating your cereal by yourself, but in your own eyes and in your own vision, in your own head, you see all this stuff. It sounds like someone's psychotic to me, but I don't think that this is what it's going to be like. I think it's going to be more that we're moving away from this inundation of information, because I want the systems and the technology around me to do what it should do without interrupting me and my experiences in my life. So that way you don't get this. This is one experience that people currently have for augmented reality, and if this is what the future looks like, I do not want to be a part of it. I don't have that picture. I should have put that up there. But this is not what that technology is for. I think the idea is, and go to the next slide. I don't even know what's on the next slide. Oh, there it is. Sorry, this is pieces of an old deck all put together. But I mean, it's really about getting technology out of the way. Who needs a screen in front of your eye to show you what's in your pocket or on your wrist? I think that's silly. I think that what you can do with technology is make it so it disappears. So it disappears from our human interaction and adds to our experience. The good thing is that we have a lot of things on our side. Next slide. Is that we have, batteries are getting better, Moore's law is on our side, and miniaturization is going like crazy. So these things aren't going to be big and bulky and weird. The reason why you thought it was kind of facetious to wear Google Glass around is because it is awkward. I wore it for about 6 months continuously, like most days, and I ended up using it about 3% of the time, but I felt awkward about 40% of the time. So, right. I mean, well, yeah. I mean, so all my other teammates were wearing Google Glass too, and I was going to meetups like this, so it was a mixture of fanfare and sadness. But regret. Yeah, try to pick up a girl in a bar with like this. It doesn't work. But what it comes down to is all these things are on our side, they're moving in that direction. The contacts could be around the corner, you know, aware cars, aware intersections, knowing when a traffic jam is ahead of you because of other cars are giving your car information, knowing where you're driving in the rain. And I know I'm talking about cars, but when I just hate driving. So you're driving in the rain, you can't see the little sign that tells you where you can park. You can't tell if the spot's big enough for you to park in. You're frustrated because you can't find the pay meter. Well, it would be great if the experience was the parking spot glowed green when you could park there for the period of time that your meeting was for, and that you could fit your car in there. That would be great. That's a great user experience. And there's no words, there's no drop-down boxes, not this parking spot's brought to you by Zipcar. It's just functions. And then the last slide. So the most optimal user interface is no interface at all. Now, I don't know how we get to there, and I don't know what it does, but I know that sensors on your body connected to a very intelligent brain online is a good step for that, and we got a lot of things on our side. Any questions?
I have a ton of questions. We're going to hold questions to the end. We're going to have a big, huge, giant Q&A session. So just something for you to think about. Everybody, could I see a show of hands of people who own Google Glasses? Or any type of glassware, Google-ish, smart glasses? Okay. Can I see a show of hands of anyone who owns wearable technology, like maybe the watch? Okay, I'm seeing a few.
Fitbit, Jawbone,
Anything?
Fuel.
That's lower than I would expect,
me too.
actually.
Okay, and can I see a show of hands of anyone who uses smart technology to lock their car, lock their house, deal with temperature, anything like that? Like on the commercial when the dude's like, I bet you didn't lock up the house, and he's like, bloop, and everything locks up. Okay, so there's a handful of people. Okay, so just question for you to think about for the end is, I keep hearing about all these things. I'm not seeing them. I'm not using them. Is it really just going to all of a sudden pop up in 24 months from now? Why aren't we seeing more people in the audience using them? The only thing I've seen them really be good for is like you can look at your watch and check out who just texted you without being super annoying in a meeting. That's the only benefit I've seen so far. Okay, so something for you to think about as we move.
Rethink your whole life. It's fun.
Yeah, as we
Just think
move
about
on.
it while you're talking.
Yeah,
That's cool.
big time.
Yeah.
You hit it on the head with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
right, totally. Well, this is great because I feel like I am going to talk a little bit about brands and how they connect to consumers, but this is a great setup because the world is changing. I mean, whether it's as fast as you think or you think, we all have, I mean, if we did, how many of you have a smartphone? All of you would raise your hand, right? So this is the way that we move in the world now, is with a smartphone, right? And it is how, if you run a company that markets or sells any kind of product to consumers, it's the way to reach them, right? We are all mobile all the time now. And so what I want to talk a little bit about is our perspective, Urban Airship's perspective, on how to interact with consumers on mobile and not do it poorly. Because you know what, we're known for push notifications, and when you ask sort of anybody on the street, do you like push notifications? Almost everybody says, no, I hate those things, I turn them all off. But then when you start to dig and you say, would you like to know when a team you care about just won the Super Bowl, or when a storm is coming, or you do want to know those things. And it's really about making sure that it's additive to that person's life. It's valuable. And you want to be the brand that is adding value to that person's life while they're on the go. You don't want to be disrupting them. So that's our point of view on it. And so I'm just going to walk you through how we think about it. So, you know, duh, right? We're all here because we care about mobile. It is absolutely fundamentally changing how brands interact with consumers. Cool, next slide. And you know, it's disrupting tons of other industries. We are spending more time on our mobile devices. Sometimes we're also watching the TV, but we are also spending more time on our mobile devices than anything else, right? And so the fact that it is starting to disrupt some really old, legitimate industries is awesome, scary, great opportunity. And for us, next slide, no texting while I'm talking.
Timing you. I am timing you.
Oh, I'm going to be fast. Ready? And the other thing is apps give you an incredible way to have a really unique relationship with your consumers. Obviously, there's other ways to interact with consumers, mobile web, lots of other channels. But once somebody takes the time to get your app on their phone and you're doing it well and you keep that relationship going, you have a loyal fan for a long time. I'm not going to say for life because who knows. So, next slide. So, you know, our point of view, and especially in 2014, we're just going to continue to demand more from both the devices we use and the brands we love. Next slide. So what are so this is just some tips about that we see. Again, we work with some of the biggest brands in the world, and they are pushing the envelope in how they do mobile. And so some of the sort of ways to think about, no matter what kind of business you run, how to do mobile well. And so the first one is we are all constantly filtering out noise. You know, I think you talked about that with that sort of weird slide with the eyeball and the cereal. We're inundated, and so filtering out noise, especially in the world we're in, which is push notifications and too many, is critical. So next slide. I love to use this idea of like what you care about and what I care about are actually different, right? So this was a huge news story, right, that the royal couple had a baby. However, not everybody cares about it the same. So if you go to the next slide, these are one person saying, you know, why did CNN not send me a push about William and Kate showing off the baby, right? Why didn't they send this to me? I care, right? And then the next one is, you know, dear news agencies, if I get another push about this, I am deleting your app, okay? So people are different, and they want, and mobile is personal. This is an extension of me. My phone is with me all the time. So don't think about everybody the same, and really start to curate what kind of content you provide to which users in different mediums. Next slide. But people love if you make their life better. I mean, I love the connected car, actually. So I bought a new car, and it, like when I'm on the phone and I jump in my car and I start my car, all of a sudden the phone is like coming through the car. Yay, amazing. Now I don't have to end my phone call. I don't have to wait in the parking lot. Like, you just made my life better, and people love that. And so the next slide. You know, people want to be celebrated. So this is tied to like maybe a Fitbit or something, but you know, 50 miles, I don't know if you guys can read it, so I'm just gonna read it to you. 50 miles lifetime badge. Hey Fitbit, thanks for the push notification, right? This guy is a runner, he's like killing it, and somebody recognized him. He just had a eureka moment about like, oh my God, my brand loves me, right? That's what you're trying to do with your relationship with your consumers. Next one. I love this one. Save their bacon, right? So wow, bacon saved by push notification and mobile boarding pass for a gate change, right? That moment to give somebody something that they didn't know they needed, they didn't know to look for, they're overwhelmed with information, and you break through the clutter and save their bacon, save their life, tell them about a storm, tell them anything. Any of those things that you can do with your consumers, again, you will have a loyal fan for life. Next one. You know, I think geo notification, we talked a little bit about iBeacons, like knowing where somebody is in the world is incredibly personal, right? That can get creepy really fast. And so thinking about if you are asking for permission, especially if you have an app, to know somebody's location, what are you doing with that? And be careful. You can totally creep out on that really fast. And so this is just one, you know, the new City Mapper London update will send you a push notification when you need to get off the bus. Now, I think that's a little creepy, but if it happened to know I was sitting on the bus and it happened to know this was my stop and I was, you know, overwhelmed with watching TV on my iPhone, maybe that's helpful. But I would say tread lightly in location. It is an incredibly personal thing to know where somebody is in the world right now. Okay, next one. I'm almost done. See, I'm talking fast.
You are crushing it.
Wow.
I'm from the East Coast.
Elizabeth,
so
I am so proud of you right now.
That's taking up time.
Do I get invited back sometime? Okay, great.
You will.
So,
you absolutely get invited.
and this is sort of the final one, which is it is personal. And I sort of already said that, and I keep saying that, but this is an extent, you know, when I think about mobile phones, it's only mobile because I'm carrying it around with me, right? Otherwise it's sitting somewhere, not being mobile. So it is mobile because I enable it to be. And so it is with me all the time. It will interrupt my life if you do something silly with it, right? And so one of the things we like to talk about, again, a little bit with location, is just because I'm walking by a hot dog stand does not mean I want a hot dog, right? So think, again, that's a location story, but think really carefully about what is the value of your app or your mobile presence to that end consumer, and when is the right time to tell them something or to give them something, you know, when to celebrate them, what to give them. It's all about providing them not noise, but value, right? And you love this one. This is for you, Benjamin.
Thank you.
I love this slide because this is what teenagers are doing, right? It is so personal. She is making out with her boyfriend and texting somebody else, right? And so, again, because we power the world's, all of the push notifications in the world practically, we really care that this does not become a spam channel, that you don't abuse it. And so we really just feel like make it good, make it worthwhile, make it a touch point with your end consumer that they will treasure and remember and want more of. And then finally, last slide. Look, you're not going to get second chances in mobile. As soon as you break that trust, as soon as you do something creepy, as soon as you start bombarding them with nonsense they don't care about, they are going to delete your app. And this says, one of my apps just sent me a push notification saying, well, it seems that you forgot about me. Hashtag guilt trip, hashtag needy app, right? And I have this picture of all the X's on the apps because, as soon as you touch the home screen, hold it down, and the apps have the X and start to shake, my friend calls that all the apps are quaking because they don't know who's getting deleted. And that is exactly what you should think about. You do not have another chance. This is so personal. It is the most personal connection you can have with your end consumer. Treat it well, be relevant, be valuable, filter out the noise. That's it.
That was incredible. Diggles, you are in trouble.
I know.
I got
She's a whippersnapper.
I got two panelists here who went through their section on time, are leaving plenty of time for a monster QA. Can you deliver at that level of passion?
I will deliver. I don't know.
And still be underneath the 10-minute.
My palms are really sweaty right now.
Man, I would be freaking out.
They're really sweaty.
All right,
Okay.
Diggles is on.
Go.
Confidence. You
Good.
can.
Thank you.
You can.
My mentor. Yes. So I have a little bit of a higher level view of mobile. I've done quite a bit of this stuff, and I definitely get anecdotal on a few things here, so I don't want to go too high level. But I love this quote. I saw it in some article years ago, and it just became like my favorite thing in the world, which is, "We have Paleolithic emotions, medieval institutions, and godlike technology." And I believe that this is the fundamental reason why mobile is so hard. Everybody here, if you were to say you understand mobile and have it nailed down, you'd be lying. Everybody's like, I don't know where to start. It's so confusing. That's why you guys are here. But when you think about Paleolithic emotions, love, hate, those things haven't really changed since the beginning of time. Whereas institutions, last time you did your taxes, you're wondering, how is it still this way? How do we still have a 40-hour work week? How do I still report to a boss I hate? Then you think about godlike technology. Mobile every single day is advancing way faster than the institutions, and especially our emotions. Next slide. Well, no, go back. Hey, easy now. So, mobile is the most godlike technology we have. If you were to tell somebody 200 years ago that everybody on this earth will have a phone that will tell them everything they absolutely want to know at any point, it would blow their minds. They would think it was like Oracle type stuff. And we have it. And I personally think it's making everybody a little bit dumber, personally. But that's a whole other conversation. Next slide. Working with the Mobile Marketing Association and a lot of the agencies I've consulted with and independent brands, one of the big things that I've noticed is that the huge disconnect of being effective in mobile is cross-departmental collaboration, which is that institutional piece. The people on the sales team, the people on the marketing, search, social, all these different teams, they're not working together. There's not this tiger team that's bringing mobile together, yet mobile is a cross-section of so many types of different interactions. This is why it's like the tragedy of the commons, where these guys are really excited about their email campaign, but they have no idea how it's feeding into the CRM, how it's feeding into push notifications, geolocation. There's so many different little attributes that different teams own. And talking to some of these big brands, they're like, well, we have no way of getting this stuff to work. Next slide, please. So I'm going to tell you right now real quickly how you can be successful in this. I've actually done this. So first thing is you need to build a tiger team. You need to build a quick team that has representations in different areas of the groups. If it's a small company, you can do this with a really small company or a big company alike. And this means finding people who are going to represent, they're all equal, and they become that team that agrees that mobile is extremely important. Big brands that are being successful, they have made this an initiative that sometimes is considered doctrine. Other companies, when you look at like small society, you have Walmart, they just buy those types of companies and they institute them to just be like, go, be our mobile people. Next slide, please. And the first thing you want to do when you're working with this team is you sit down, you look at data. This is not profound, but it's often overlooked. Coming back from web trends, this is something that I've instituted very big in my practice of everything I do with marketing. But look at two parts. Internal, what are your best customers performing? What are people doing on your mobile devices? But then industry, what's happening in the industry? But make sure that you marry the two. Don't listen to your CEO that since he has an iPhone thinks they need to put out an iPhone app. You may have all your customers that are on Android and you have no idea because he heard that, iPhone's really cool. So you want to look at where your best customers are performing, where all the traffic's coming at, but then also look at some of the trends that are out there. There's a ton of information. Next slide, please. I call these three the table stakes. Speed, user experience, and relevance. These are the absolute conversion killers. All the data that I've read about and seen from companies, a consumer will jump ship on an app or a mobile optimized site if it's not fast. That's their number one priority. They want it to be quick. And even though everybody seems to understand this, nobody builds for it. So make it fast. Number two, the UI. What's the user experience? Like, how does it look? How does it feel? Is it gorgeous? Is it engaging? And then relevance. Is the content actually relevant based off of what they want to do? And the cool thing about this is that since speed and user experience are actually top of the list, that means if the content isn't even that relevant and it's beautiful, there still might be an opportunity for them to be interested. So like mobile optimized websites are a great opportunity to acquire new customers, and then you use apps to retain them. So something to think about. Next slide, please. And out of all my journeys, and I know I sound like I'm 50 years old, but I've done a lot of marketing, this is like the holy grail. And I know some of you know this, and maybe you don't, but a cross-channel, hyper-personalized, relevant experience is what every marketer is after. They want somebody, no matter where they go, just like Tyler said, they're getting things that are relevant at the right time, that are personalized to them, and it's ease of use without them having to do a damn thing. And this is really, really hard because, like, look at an iPad. I'm on an iPad at home. I'm doing my thing. I hand it over to Liz. No longer does a brand know that I've switched that over to her. So how do you track that? How do you stitch that attribution together? Next slide, please. A great company that's doing this that I've worked with is Walgreens. And the reason why they're doing it is because they've really stitched together from a mobile perspective, being the first thing they focus on, what their in-store experience is like, what their rewards program is like, what their Facebook page looks like, their Twitter, their website, when they log in and you authenticate and all your history is there. Stitching those things together is really hard. And it's not just because you want to do it, it's because you have that tiger team that agrees that we're all going to work together to make this happen. Where I've talked to their competitor, Rite Aid, and I'm sure they're both thrilled that I'm telling you this information, but I have nobody to be accountable to at this point. They don't have that, and they also have complained. They're like, we just can't get people to work together. We can't get people to actually agree on a common goal. Again, this has nothing to do with solving problems with technology. These are emotional people dealing with these medieval institutional issues. So, next slide, please. So just to summarize kind of the basics, doesn't matter what size you are, appoint a team. Also, one thing with this, you're going to fail. You're probably going to fail a couple of times, and you've got to be okay with that. You have to persevere. But with that, you also have to celebrate. Find ways to be like, holy shit, we did it. We did one thing. We did it really well. Let's celebrate, bust out the champagne, whatever. But you want to celebrate. Next thing is make sure that you prioritize what you're going to do based off of data, not somebody's hunch, not what your junior high kid is doing in school that seems really cool. Prioritize based off of data, and then last thing is address those basics. Make sure that whatever you're doing, it's fast, it has a strong user experience and a beautiful user interface, and that it's extremely relevant based off of what the person is trying to get out of it and where they fit into that.
Dude, man, round of applause.
Yes, right? Yes,
oh my God. You got time for me to just get my beer out and sit back?
4 minutes, 35 seconds.
Man.
Oh, wait.
I did that in Boston. It took me an hour.
I tell you, if I had panelists like you three, I would just do this thing every week. Okay, so super awesome. I have two questions, and then I want to open it up to Q&A from the audience, and anyone can answer these. So the one question is the CMO, right? So for a CMO of a big company. So if your business is not already planning to blank, then consider your lead generation and branding screwed. So the question is, if your big business is not already planning to blank, then consider your lead generation and branding screwed. And then the flip side for the small business owner. So a small business owner, let's say I'm a 1 to 5 person shop, right? So the second question here for the small business owner is, you are behind the times already if you don't blank, and if you're not already planning to blank.
Whew.
So many blanks.
This is like,
A lot of blanks.
A ton of blanks.
it's a little
Mad
stressful.
Libs.
Mad Lib. I was like, what game is this? Mad Lib.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah. So
I'll do the CMO. Can I
you're
do
gonna
the
do
CMO?
the CMO. You're gonna do the big business. Okay.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, because the blanks are tricky.
I know.
If you remember it.
Okay.
If your big business is not already planning to blank, then consider your lead generation and branding screwed.
Yeah, I mean, I think, so we've really started publishing a bunch of research about, mobile opt-in and people who opt into geolocation and a whole bunch of stuff. And the way we talk about it is there are leaders and losers in every category at this point. And if you are not doing mobile and serious, and I think Benjamin hit the nail on the head, if you have not organized your company around executing well in mobile, you will be obsolete. Like that, there is sort of no other way. People expect you to be able to find you when they're on the go. Now that, I don't care whether that's mobile optimized web, whether your emails are mobile, it doesn't really matter. Organize today around getting there fast, or your lunch will be eaten, you will be gone.
Well, it's like 30% of traffic now is mobile is kind of what I'm seeing.
Higher.
Higher.
Yeah.
much higher.
Way higher. Some of our brands are already saying, 100% of their sales are influenced by mobile, right? Somebody has touched a mobile experience.
Average
Along the
company,
way.
though. Take the small business people, everyone here at the website. Take the big businesses. What would you say the percentage would be?
Average.
That if everyone goes home and actually hooks up their Google Analytics and actually looks at how many people are visiting their site on a mobile device.
It's over 50% at this
It's over
point.
50%
Absolutely.
for sure.
Yeah.
Says, what was that? Facebook is 60%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think 30 is a good entry point, but yeah. It's
30
over-
to 60% on
And
a
it
mobile
depends on your
device.
category a little
it
bit,
matters
but
what you
yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, where do you hear about a brand? You hear about it through your friends. How often do you have conversations with your friends with all your laptops open? It's instantly you go to their page on Facebook, you Google them, whatever, but you're
Right.
not doing it on a laptop.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
or even if you're on a laptop, maybe you're in a coffee shop. So
Or
is
yeah.
that mobile?
Or you're
Right.
chat rouletting.
Yeah.
You don't know. You don't know.
Okay,
It's a gamble.
small business question. So you're behind the times if you don't already what? For the small business owner, 1 to 5 people.
I mean, I'll take. I mean, it's fairly simple 101. If you can't answer that question that you just asked, how much traffic is coming from mobile? And it's
Right.
amazing how people don't know. Like even fairly sophisticated mid-level brands. Like, so how much of your traffic's coming through mobile? And they're just like, and everybody on the marketing team should know that number. At
Right.
least have a ballpark. And I feel like that's a huge oversight, and it's a huge problem for planning. Is people keep doing stuff because they've always done it a certain way, and the times change every quarter, and it's all mobile, and it's an afterthought. So I think that if you don't have a clear understanding of where your best performing customers are spending their time, then you're way behind.
I mean,
So
it's-
just knowing the number is the first thing.
Yeah, it's
Tyler,
true. I mean,
no?
even if you look in an analog era, when people started tracking what they ate, like food journals, you instantly start changing your behavior because you know you're being tracked. And once you have it all written down, then you can do something about it. Mint.com's the same way. They said in the first 3 months of people starting to track what they were doing, their behavior's already changed. So by you tracking where the traffic's coming from, you start talking to your customers. It gives you a reason to engage them, because if you don't know before those numbers come out, you're already screwed. Like,
I think that's really good advice because people get so panicky, especially small business owners.
Yeah.
You're trying to make ends meet month to month, and you really just need to be able to make that decision because otherwise you're just wasting so much time.
if you don't analyze, then you're never going to do anything wrong, right?
Right up front, right? Actually, yeah. so
Ignorance is
don't look.
bliss.
Yeah.
Don't look.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'm going to open up to the audience right after one more question. Tyler, I don't understand this. These Google glasses, no one's wearing them. No one's going to wear them. This wearable, aside from sneaking in text without people realizing and being
Yeah.
rude. So why aren't more people raising their hands, and when are we going to see this stuff hit?
Well, I think that what they're aimed at is after niche. So, like, there's a company that's doing a pretty decent job. They're Recon. They're snowboarding goggles. You use them maybe 10 times a year, so no one's going to be wearing them in here. I hope not. Except for
I wouldn't put it past Portland.
the Snowlandia
This
or
guy.
whatever it was we
This
just
guy
had.
might.
I saw some people wearing them.
Yeah.
But they're specialty devices. That's what they're made for. So when people have Nike Plus shoes on, they're going to wear them when they're running maybe 3 times a week. When people have a Fitbit on, those are trying to push in the mainstream, but those are mostly for fitness. I mean, there's all these little tiny devices that are GoPros or other things that are sensory, but they seem to not be doing well unless they're aimed at, I am solving this specific problem for this passionate group of minorities who want to do something about it. Nest, how many geeky people tried to build their own version of Nest before it came out? Anybody? Did anybody? Because this is the wrong meetup. Just go to the DIY meetups. There's everyone tried to build it. So this is aimed at that passionate minority until it's proven that there's something there to do. Who was building apps for smartphones? They were the people who had the geekiest reasons to build a stupid app, and we didn't start downloading them until they hit 100 million downloads.
Right.
I mean, it's that's what you need to think about these as. There are specific devices for a specific niche that we don't fit into until they make enough worth there and they start expanding to something that we care about. So in connected cars or connected shops, it's connected cars going after gearheads, like people who care about what their RPMs are, what their gas mileage is, people who
That's
care.
where we're going to really see it, is just niche.
Niche, yeah, and niche until someone starts connecting those different devices together and doing something really interesting with the data. But since they're all closed and they're all very small and there's not a lot of competition yet, by the way, Fitbit owns 64% of the fitness wearable market. 64% of every device that's sold in that industry is sold by Fitbit. Keep an eye on them, they're taking off. Yeah.
That's interesting.
They also just had their largest recall in the company history.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Well, the only recall, well, is it their only? No, this is the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
that makes it the largest.
Yeah,
But that was
the only or
All right.
largest.
Questions from the audience? Any questions from the audience? Can you
We got a runner.
test?
Sweet.
Paul, is this mic working?
We got juice.
Thank you, Sarah.
I guess this is kind of a technical
Well,
question.
Can you say your name, company?
Yeah, so my name is Paul Reed, and I'm with Stronger Than Fiction Studios, and it's kind of a technical question. I understand how everything needs to be interconnected, but I'm thinking back in the day when like there was Microsoft Internet Explorer, there was Netscape, and there were these different browsers, and it was like the browsers determined how people built things. So in mobile, we're always in this conundrum of, okay, well, how bad do we really, like in a large business, I'm sure, you have your whole Android team and your whole iOS team and all that, but small businesses, I mean, they can only cut once, I mean, it'd be nice to be able to just build something and then just send it out. So, like in some ways, I'm sort of morally opposed to like iOS apps, but I understand how you're sort of married to it, and it does get a lot of use if you use it a lot. But I'm just, I understand, you have PhoneGap and you have different ways to sort of put envelopes around web apps. But to me, it seems like the future really should be this foundation that's, everybody builds the same way, and there are different ways to manifest that, but let's do away with, these different environments to actually deliver them. So I guess my question is, what's your opinion? I mean, people complain about performance in PhoneGap or these other wrappers, but is there a way to sort of, especially for small businesses, to sort of have an environment that's custom for each environment without breaking the bank, I guess?
Yeah, I think you're right with PhoneGap or Titanium. There's a bunch of other ones you can do, but I think you're thinking about it the wrong way. Do you want to make something that's terrible for everyone, or do you want to make something that's good for that target audience? I mean, that's really the question. Because if you can tell me that you can't tell the difference between an iPhone user, an Android user, and a Windows Phone user, or someone who's still on analog, I mean, you can probably tell the difference. You can probably tell the difference who knows how to get to those two. And until you're big enough to be able to afford to cover all your bases, just pick the one that you think is a home run, and that starts from learning who they are.
Learn about the audience,
Yeah.
right? What kind of phone do they tend to have, right? Because that's who you're going after anyway,
Yeah.
right? And the other thing is the phones. So those operating systems have a vested interest in being different, and they're going to continue to diverge. So they don't want the iPhone app to feel like the Android app, because they want you to choose an iPhone because you can have a certain kind of experience. So we see this a lot in push notifications. The push notifications you can do on a BlackBerry versus a Windows phone versus an Android phone versus an iOS phone are absolutely different, and you can make completely different experiences. And that's because they want you to have chosen an Android phone because you want a certain experience, and then they want the brand to create that experience. And so I would 100% echo that. Like, both of these guys are saying the right thing, which is, it's all about the user experience and the audience and understanding them. And if you choose PhoneGap or some publish once, get it out there every time, you are going to cut corners in a way that your users are not going to like.
Or maybe they don't care about that, but then you should know that before you make that decision.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing. It's, you know, as I already said, know your data and understand the industry data. You know, everybody keeps hearing 79% of the 1 billion smartphones shipped last year were Android. So everybody's like, oh, that's where the audiences are. But like, almost none of them transact. So if you're looking to make money as a small business and you notice that you have a 50-50 split between iPhone users and Android, and you have an app or an experience where you're looking to actually monetize and make money, you can look at like, yeah, we can put money into Android, but those guys don't spend money. So everybody out there that has Android starts spending money. But those are the type of things, like you can sit there and pull strings to focus, and that focus is where you're going to build as a small company into somebody that can make money to do larger things and start, when you plateau, start to turn over rocks. But there's some big rocks with a lot of opportunity that are right in front of you.
And also, you can do mobile web. I mean, like, you don't have to do an app. You know, one of the reasons to do an app, right, is it's a longer-term relationship with that consumer if you can get them to get it. The other thing is it unlocks a lot of capability on the phone, you know, like the gyroscope in the phone and the camera, and, you know, like you need to hook into some native experiences of that operating system. You're better served with an app, but you don't have to have an app, right?
What kind of phone do you guys have?
iPhone.
What generation?
iPhone 5S.
5S? I don't know.
5.
Nexus 5. So KitKat, iOS 7,
Yep.
iOS 7?
Yeah, 7.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you can kind of tell how we're different. Just from
Yeah.
that.
I buy shit on this
No,
all the time.
serious.
Yeah,
Like I
totally.
don't pay for
Transact.
apps.
I'm doing it right
I
now.
refuse.
My wife,
I have almost no games on there.
she had 177 packages sent to our house from Amazon Prime using her phone last year alone.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
But we don't ever, I mean.
Just
yeah.
build for her.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, like, it works. And
But I mean, everybody feels what you're feeling. You know,
Yeah.
if everybody feels that, and it's way more complicated than the browser wars, and it will just continue to be that way. You know, and more devices are coming online that are going to make that even harder.
I had a fact at a conference that how many distinct types of devices are there in the market today? So like iPhone 5, iPhone 5S, iPhone 4, you go across, and it's
Staggering.
Crowd Compass alone, we've had over 11,000 distinct types of devices use our mobile apps for events.
Yeah.
So the number is like 15 or 16,000. You know, think about tablets, all the different kinds, think about all the different countries, all the different phones, like there is a huge thing out there. So that's like that's a super, super tough question, and it has not just to do with your audience, but with your budget, has to do with your time.
Totally.
Hardware, version of software, and then version of the baked-in apps that each handset carrier puts on there. You know,
Right.
they put restrictions on certain Bluetooth protocols. They do all sorts of stuff.
Yep.
That question could go on and on.
Yep.
Okay, we got before Clint, we got another person here. Just say your name and company.
My name is Sarah.
Oh.
I work for Domain Analytics, a small digital marketing agency in the area. And I just have a quick question for you, Elizabeth, a fellow East Coaster. So do you have any targeting options within apps for push notifications? So for instance, in the example you used with the Will and Kate pictures, could you break that down to someone who reads more celeb news versus news?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's the goal, right? Is we call it smart push, right? So a good example is ABC News is a customer, and it was like 100 days ago, because they just did like a 100-day report, but they released an app that is a general audience news app, right? So you might like politics, you might like sports, I might like, babies, I don't know, and hearing about royal babies. And what they did, instead of sort of forcing you to be like, I care about politics and sport, fill out one of those like toggle preference centers, they just start to, over time, if you like a story, if you spend more time on it, they start to build that profile about you and then send you targeted things, and then also start to give you the controls to say more like this, less like this, right? So absolutely, it is all about targeting, and it's all about sort of giving a sort of balance between explicit, right? Tell me what you care about, versus implicit, which is behavioral-based targeting. So we have a ton of those capabilities, and that's sort of where a lot of that best practices stuff comes from, which is don't treat everybody the same. Not everything is a reason to broadcast everything.
Thank you.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
Clint, and then we're going to
Absolutely.
jump over here.
Nice. That's good. Way to weave that in.
I'm very
Name
punny.
and, can you stand up, dude?
Yep.
Name and company.
Hey, my name is Clint Bowers. I'm founder of Stripe Marketing and Locani Entertainment. I was going to respond to this gentleman's initial question with a different question, meaning think of looking at it in a different way. Instead of, is there like a unified technology that could exist, kind of like how web browsers access HTML or whatever the standard would be? That's a technology kind of conversation. Could it be the other side of that? There's ecosystems like the Google Play Store and the iTunes and App Store. Those are sales and marketing and brand strategies that happen to be technologies. So those are kind of these marketplaces that exist. They could choose this technology to say, hey, yeah, let's use all these great creative ideas and access them through multiple devices. So my question, after kind of priming with that, how does HTML...
Hold on, Clint. Before you ask this question, let me just put up this. Let me put up this next slide. Oh, interesting. Oh my God.
There he is.
Oh my God.
Whoa.
All right, take it down.
We're innovating our asses off over here.
Totally.
That's
Oh,
amazing.
baby. Oh man, I couldn't help it. Okay, sorry.
Wow.
I didn't.
Wow.
I don't know where you got those photos, but did you talk to my mom?
I have photos of everyone here, so be careful what you ask.
Those were all on my mobile phone. I don't know how you got those. But so my question to the panel is, with that said, there's these ecosystems and marketplaces out there that are incredibly valuable to Apple and Google Play and these other follow-up ones. How does HTML5 fit into this long term? Will it evolve into being like browser-accessed content? How will that and can that replace the two ecosystems that take up most of the share of the market, basically?
I have an opinion.
Go for it.
Go for
Okay.
it. I mean. so
Well,
on.
my
I'll add
strong
on.
opinion on HTML5 is that, developers, I hate to say this, but they're squandering it a bit. It's kind of like when you got that Pentium 4 processor back in their day, and you're like, I'm never going to need more power than this ever in my life. But then all of a sudden, everything became way more crazy. So people, like developers, see HTML5 and they're like, oh, we're going to have Angular, JavaScript, and crazy transitions and all this wild stuff going on, and try to recreate an app experience rather than staying rooted in making it a fundamental, fair value exchange of what the person is actually looking to do. And so therefore, I think it's cannibalizing itself a little bit, because everything that comes out with HTML5 is so proud to prove that it's HTML5 by overbearing the infrastructure that supports it. So while I 2 years ago was saying HTML5 is the future, right now I'm not so sure, because it has well, screw it. If I'm going to hire this guy, he's going to want to do all this stuff. So the discipline of constraining it, I think, is really the key. But it offers a ton of opportunity. But there's a lot of people, much like the economy, that freak out when some of these big brands take a step back. When Facebook made their choice to take away HTML5 functionality from their in-app experience.
Same with LinkedIn.
And same with LinkedIn. They were just like, great, we tried this, but it just isn't as smooth and doesn't provide the same level of experience despite the cost impact. That makes all the brands start to freak out and retract like a turtle a bit. And so that's just my opinion.
Just to add in here, I do think HTML5 still has a really good place, especially for small business owners that you're creating your app for the first time. It's very nerve-wracking to go out and try to create an iOS and put something in the Play Store as well. Now you have two different worlds that you have to be managing. You have money issues, time issues. You're not sure if you have time. The web apps are awesome because you can build them. They can work on all different browsers. You can be experimenting. You can change it very easily and manage one world compared to building this mobile responsive web app and then also having iOS and having Android and having to deal with the three. So there's still a place of especially in the experimental phase for small businesses.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, I think it has a lot to take a really hard look at your business in the mirror and figure out if anybody really needs your app on their phone, right? Because if they don't build one, right? That there is literally zero reason to make that app if you cannot justify a whole bunch of people getting it, right? make a mobile app or a mobile website, right? Make a mobile optimized website. There is literally zero reason nobody's going to find it. You are going to break the bank to build it and advertise it and keep it up, and like nobody's going to need it. So it is really actually about taking a hard look at yourself in the mirror and your business in the mirror and deciding if you actually need that. Not everybody needs one. I'm not saying you need one, right? But I do think there are for sure big differences. I would totally echo what you said. And I think those stores are motivated to keep those stores around, so they're not going anywhere. So we're sort of in that ecosystem for bad or good. You were going to say something though.
Tyler, and then we have one more question here, but first, Tyler, you want to respond to that?
No, I would just say that it's kind of it's become what it should be, which is a step between a generic web interface and like a full-blown app. And you don't have to go through the approval process, you don't have to do all those things, so you can try out some of that experiential stuff very cheaply and easily, as long as you don't go crazy. Like the first time I saw parallax on a page, it was everywhere. Everything was parallax, and everything was moving around. It was annoying, but it's a chance for you to try stuff like, pulling off some of this fun stuff you do in apps without putting in the effort, because it does take a bunch of commitment to say, I'm going to build an app, I'm going to put it through the approval process, I'm going to make sure it works, and then I'm going to continue to update it as updates are needed. That's a commitment. That's a long-term commitment.
And have to market it. The nice thing about mobile web is you can leverage your existing spend that you've done with media. So it's kind of a win-win to test the waters before you. And again, it's great for acquisition. Apps are great for retention.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's what it should be used for. I think you're seeing abuse is what you're commenting on. It's tons of abuse.
Okay, last question over here, and then we're going to, the panelists are going to hang around and buy beers all night for people across the street at OntheGo Sports Bar. And Mark's going to spend part of his $100 that he's going to give Paul.
Way to go, Mark.
Name and company?
Hello, I'm John Roberts with Mindworm Incorporated, and I'm wondering about discoverability in the App Store when you've got 1 million apps in all of these stores. If you have any thoughts about what works or what does not work for getting your app discovered.
You want it?
Yeah, I'll take this one. Have you ever gone to a landing page for an app and noticed there's not a damn thing there except for a picture of a phone with go to the App Store? The reason is because it's so much easier to leverage like traditional search in the web to drive people to your landing page and then give them almost little to no information about it to force them to click through into the App Store rather than trying to do it with the App Store approach. And the reason this works is because if you want to find out about it, learn about it in the App Store, and you're just one step closer to converting somebody that's going to trigger over to a customer or a user. Another opportunity is look at some of the technologies that some of these app platforms are promoting on behalf of their own core technology. Like the App Store for iTunes is really pushing their Game Center. So if you build your app using Game Center, they're automatically going to start pimping you because you use their technology and they want that type of discoverability. So look to see what Google is trying to promote, any new technologies. And even though it may be a step or two extra for you to try to weave that into your build, the benefit will be huge because they will automatically put you at the top of the line to see some discoverability. That's some quick hack.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would echo that, and I would also say if you have any physical presence, so any physical retail locations or anything like that, use other channels to market to people. So, Walgreens does this well, lots of hotels do this well. Like, you walk in the building and there's an advertisement for the app, right? Use other channels to start allowing people to find your app. The App Store is a crazy, crowded, wild west. Game the system, right, as much as you can, but use all the other touch points you have to drive people to get the app if you've put in the time to make the app.
Other than downloading Solitaire or Sudoku, how many people have just gone to the App Store and started poking around for apps? Really? Oh, wow.
Sadly, I do.
And you look at top 10 free apps and then you try them out.
I mean, usually I hear about an app, I look at it, maybe I'll download it and I'll delete it, maybe I'll download it again, but I usually hear about it from friends, or it's posted on social media, or I walk by a store and then I find out they have an app. I mean, it's not coming from the App Store. And there's a dozen companies who've tried to create this engine for finding apps. And they tell you to do these tricks, and they tell you to do that, and they tell you to use their marketplace. But in the end, I mean, what's driving people there is that the brand and the interest in using whatever it is you have, not organic search.
You look at Draw Something, they had 1 million users in 9 days from when they launched, and it was all based off of how they implemented their social strategy using Facebook as the backbone to play the game. It was like, hey, I want to play with my friend, he's not on him. He's like, great, I'm going to go download it. I mean, it's social. These type of techniques, don't look at it as like, how can I get people to search for it in the App Store, because they're just not going to do it.
Right.
Cool. All right, you guys, the panelists, I think, are going to stick around. If you have any other questions, just a couple, letting people know that this really was a real picture of Clint. Dude,
There he is.
Wow.
this is Clint. He's a
Handsome
romantic guy. He
gentleman.
loves flowers. He wears great sweaters at Christmas time. And Clint is speaking at the next Innovation in Motion panel, which is going to be super interesting because Clint is not a super technical programmer guy, but he gave himself 1 week to get over the fear of building and publishing an app.
Wow.
And he spent the last couple months figuring out, how do I get this app more popular? And he went from making like $1 a month to like 20 bucks a day, and he has like 200, 300,000 downloads, like 10,000 a day. Super interesting story from a total app rookie. Sitting on the same panel is going to be a guy who has been living off of his app family for the last 4 years. And so we're going to have the rookie do his presentation. Then we're going to have the pro, and then the pro is going to give him some advice. Then we're going to have the pro do his presentation, and we're going to see if Clint, the flower man, Bowers, can give the pro some advice. So making money with mobile apps is April 1st, and the next one, Into the Mind of a Nerd. I was just told by a nerd today that I should change this to geek. So it's going to be Into the Mind of the Geek. We're actually in May 6th. We're going to build an app from start to finish in 59 minutes or less. We're going to have an iOS developer, a Node developer, and a project manager. We're going to broadcast it, and we're going to have someone explain what the hell is going on for people like me that don't understand how do you make language decisions, how do you make the framework decisions, what are your options, why did they go with that, and we're going to do it in 59 minutes or less and push it up into the App Store. So a couple quick announcements. We're going to be hanging out next door at On Deck Sports Bar. Everybody come on over. Mark's buying beers all night. Special thanks to Puppet Labs for letting us crash their home every month at Innovation in Motion. Special thanks to the sponsors. Please go talk to the 3D people, grab a beer from Tupton, have some food from Digital Aptitude, and last but not least, make my job so easy. This is the easiest panel I've ever moderated. Round of applause for the awesome, awesome panelists. Woo! All right, thanks everybody. We'll see you next month.